Hi friends, this is a short video to help you get ready for dolphin pose. Quite a few things need to align and work in your favor in order to get into dolphins successfully. Opening shoulders, strengthen the shoulders. Opening legs, strengthen the legs. Glutes. So we'll do a few functional movements, some yoga poses that you'll be familiar with as well to prepare you for it. You're going to need a rolled up blanket like this. You can also roll up your mat as well and create something of this nature. You can use a block or a couple of blocks for that. Also a strap or a scarf, something that you can hold onto in your hand. Obviously your mat. And we're also going to need a chair. It doesn't really matter the height of the chair, we can always adjust, but have that nearby. Come to stand with your feet about hip width apart. Feel for your foundation, rooting, maybe transferring the weight one side and then to the other side, perhaps even in this circular motion to feel for stability, to feel for grounding. And keeping a very small, like a micro bend in the knees. So what we don't want is to hyperextend here. And when we lock, we stop that rise of energy probably around the knees. So a tiny little micro bend in the knees. And this is particularly important for hypermobile people. And as you feel for aligning your pelvis, so aligning the pelvis, if your tendency is to rib thrust and have this anterior tilt in the pelvis, then maybe your job is to lengthen the sit bones down a little. Of course, you want to maintain a healthy lumbar curve, but sending the sit bones down so you're not leaning onto your lower back so much. And if you're the other way, if there's a posterior tilt to your pelvis, then it's about moving the pelvis back a little bit. Wherever you are, the sense of squeezing energetically this imaginary ball or block in between the inner thigh, that usually helps. So you align the pelvis and you align your rib cage over your pelvis. That's where we're aiming for. And again, the opposite to that is when the pelvis is moving back and the chest thrusts forward. So find this alignment of rib cage over pelvis, hips over ankles. So moving from here to here. And all of this is so necessary, so helpful for any inversion. And in this particular sense, it's the sense of alignment, but also connection to core, which is what we need for any upside down pose. And now from this standing position, just by itself, we've spent so much time rooting and aligning and grounding. That's so important. Now begin to inhale and gently raise the arms. And it could be that the arms come up by your side. It could be that they're here, a little bit in front. And as you exhale, send the arms back down. Just gentle, graceful movements. Take a deep breath in and begin to sweep the arms up. And as you exhale, send the arms back down. And take one more deep inhalation to sweep the arms up, synchronizing each breath with movement. And as you exhale, send the arms down. As you pause here, take an inhalation into the back of your heart. Holding the breath, lift the shoulders up towards the ears back. Exhale, squeeze top tips of the shoulder blades together and slide them down the back. Take a deep breath into the upper back. As you exhale, now move the shoulders straight back so that the mid tips of shoulder blades come together and slide down the back. And now stage 3, bend the elbows. Take a deep breath into the upper back. And as you exhale, squeeze bottom tips of shoulder blades together, squeeze, squeeze, and slide down the back. So we're creating a sense of mobility, movement into the shoulder. Now let's begin to combine the opening into shoulder and chest with some calf work. So here's where you need your rolled up blanket or roll up your mat and place your right foot onto your blanket so that the ball of the foot is on the blanket and the heel's on the floor. Okay, so once you've done that, feel for either aligning your feet or stepping your left foot forward. This is going to make it a little more intense. Or stepping your left foot back. It's going to make it a little less intense. So choose your position. Lift your left arm up and place your right palm on left chest. Take an inhalation into your left shoulder collarbone space. And as you exhale, begin to move the left arm back, creating space in the fascia around the heart. And at the same time, feel the sensations running up and down the back of your right leg. And gently release that and swap sides. Step your left foot on the roll. Find your optimal position for feeling the gentle, to begin with, gentle stretch in the calf and the back of the leg. Right arm lifts, left hand on the right upper chest. Inhaling into the right side and exhaling. As you breathe, notice if there's a part of your rib cage where you're not feeling as much. So perhaps the breath feeds the front, but not so much the side or the back. So breathe into that space, nourish that space. As you release the arm and release the left foot, the next stage is to take a chair. So mine is not quite a chair and it's quite low. So what I'm going to do is place the blocks over it. What we want is to take this calf stretch a little bit further. And for this one, I'm actually going to roll up my mat so that both feet can rest on the roll, probably just about here. And we can fold forward. You can have your hands on your chair. Maybe you're able to release the forearms down. Wherever you are, soften the neck. Feel the sensations in the backs of the legs. So perhaps now it's in the calves, but actually more in the hamstrings and glutes. Take a deep breath into the back of your heart. And as you exhale, wrap your shoulders. Feel the bottom tips of shoulder blades wrap gently away from one another. Soften the neck. Take one more inhalation here. And a complete exhale out as you gently hug the belly in. As you release, come up and out. Open up your mat once again. You can move your chair out of the way. As you sit, have your strap in your hands, right arm extending up, bending at the elbow. Left arm grabs hold of the other end of the strap. Okay, so this is archer. I strongly suggest for those of you who can hold on to the fingers in your archer, strongly suggest for this variation to take a strap. So the tendency in archer, when you are quick to hold onto the fingers, is to do this. So it's to throw the chest forward. For other people, it's to throw the head forward in order to hold on. What we want is the alignment that we were working on at the beginning, feeling for the sense of stability, sense of length, and stacking. So stacking the rib cage over the hips, the head gently aligns over the shoulders. And as the arms hold on to the strap, Feel for the right elbow gently moving up and the left elbow gently moving down and towards the midline. And you might find that with each breath, your hands naturally come towards one another. But if it's at the expense, if you're borrowing that from the heart, keep reminding yourself to hug the frontal lower ribs down. Take a deep inhalation in this archer and a full exhale out. And then release, swap sides. Extend your left arm up. Don't be surprised to see that one side feels completely different to the other. It's very typical, very normal. We are creatures of habit, so sometimes we get used to using our computer, the mouse, with one hand and not so much the other, so things get tight. Driving in a certain way, sitting in a certain way. So be mindful. And I would actually say, if you have the time, if you have a tighter side, spend more time on that side. Take a spacious inhalation wherever you are and a complete exhale. Now let that go. For now, we will need this once again. Moving into melting heart next. Or in forest yoga, this is called prelude to dolphin. As you open the knees to about mat wide, and your knees move back, just a little further back than the hips. Release the forearms down. So when you do that, the hips will naturally settle over the knees, and that's where you want them to be. Bring your forehead down. And if it's available to you, bring your palms together and lift the hands up. We're opening a little further into the shoulder, into the triceps, the armpit muscles. So breathe into these areas. And if the nucleus, the center of heart space, if you begin to feel into that space, and next inhalation, let the breath vibrate from the nucleus all the way circumferentially into every corner of the ribcage. Exhale fully. Release the hands and begin to lift up and out of the pose. Come back to sit, any position that feels comfortable for you. So in this one, a little bit of strength. Bring your hands in front of you, holding onto your strap. If it's a resistance band, it does work a little bit better. If you don't, anything would do, a scarf. So as you hold onto your strap, shoulder height, take a deep inhalation into sides of the rib cage. As you exhale, move the hands away from midline and slightly curve them down. And then come back to your central position, your starting position. Inhale. Exhale, move the hands away and curve them down. Inhale into the side and back ribs. As you exhale, move the hands away from the midline, curve them slightly down. And we'll do one more. Just be mindful not to move the hands too much. Keep them at shoulder level. Deep inhale. Exhale, move the hands away and curve them down. Release. Move out any unnecessary tension, tightness in the shoulders. Let's come into the first variation of dolphin. So we set it up, bringing the knees down and the forearms down. Have your elbows just under your shoulders. Measure the shoulder distance by bringing your hands to mid upper arms and have the fingers come just around the arm. As you release the forearms back down, remember the options here. The palms can remain down, or you can clasp the hands. This does feel just a little bit more stable. And if there's any tweakiness in your shoulder or tendency for tweakiness, then clasp your hands. I often do this variation. Relax your neck wherever you are, but keep your head off the floor. Take a really deep breath into upper back. As you exhale, wrap your shoulders. So the shoulder blades wrap away from one another and towards the armpits. and press the floor away with the forearms. So this in itself is quite an energizing pose. This in itself should feel quite active. So working into wrapping the shoulders and pressing the floor away. It works into your upper arm muscles, shoulder and chest muscles. Just make sure that the neck is relaxed. One more inhalation and a complete exhale out. As you come out of the pose and sit back, again, find a seated position that works for you. Okay, next, hold on to your block, if you have one, in between the forearms. Have your palms facing each other. If you don't have a block, it's absolutely fine. You just take that variation and imagine the block is there. Take a deep breath into the side and back ribs. As you exhale, hug the front lower ribs down and micro twist to your left. Inhale, come back to center. Exhale, micro twist to the right and hug the front lower ribs down. Let me show you from this side. So as you inhale, you come back to center. Exhale, as you micro twist to the left, hug the front lower ribs down. If your tendency is to do this, let's align. Deep inhale back to center. Exhale, micro twist to the right, hug the front lower ribs down. One more inhalation back to center. Exhale to the left, holding this block, hugging the block. Inhaling back to center. Exhaling to the right, squeezing the block or the imaginary block in between the forearms. Come back to center, release. So again, that should feel quite energizing for the shoulders. Come back to now all fours actually. So on your hands and knees, move your hands just a little further forward than the shoulders and be mindful. When you do this, what I see quite often is when hands move, the rest of the body moves. For this variation, stay stable through the upper body and the legs, just move the hands. Once the hands have moved forward a few inches, lower the elbows and hover them a few inches off the floor. This is a turbo puppy. With your elbows a few inches off the floor, imagine that there is a block or a beach ball, needs to be a little bit bigger, a beach ball in between the elbows, and you are hugging that beach ball in between the elbows. So if I show you from this side, from this view, especially those who find themselves with the elbows out to the side, your job is to hug the elbows in towards the middle and relax your neck. As you inhale, balloon the breath into upper back. As you exhale, hug the elbows in towards the midline and draw the belly in. One more inhalation and a complete exhalation. Come out of the pose, come to sit down and take your block one more time. In between the forearms, raise the arms, palms facing each other. This time, you're going to wrap the shoulders, but in a seated position. Take a deep breath into the back of your heart. As you exhale, draw your shoulder blades back, down, and forward, hugging the block in between the forearms. Come back to your natural position, neutral position. Take a deep breath into the back of the heart. As you exhale, draw the shoulder blades back and down, lengthen the elbows forward and hug, squeezing the block in between the forearms. One more time. Inhale into the upper back. As you exhale, draw the shoulder blades back, down and forward, squeeze the block and hug the belly in. Release. Whew. Now it's time for Dolphin. Let's see how you get on. As you come onto your forearms and knees. And notice here, we've already done this once. If you find that you need something in between having the palms down and clasping the hands, feel free to have the block in between the palms. You can hold on to it, so having it in your palms, or have the palms down, but have the blocks there in between the hands. Relax the neck. Take a deep breath into the back of your heart. As you exhale, wrap the shoulders, press the forearms onto the floor, tuck the toes, and lift the hips up. And to begin with, you might lift just a little bit. So there's a substantial and generous bend in the knees, and that's absolutely fine. In time, as you feel more and more comfortable, maybe as there's space in the backs of the legs, you can extend the legs. And as you do, feel for walking the feet closer and closer towards the elbows. Inhale into your lower back and belly. And as you exhale, feel for reaching the sit bones up towards the ceiling and hugging the belly. Just make sure that if the neck is straining, the jaw feels tight, that you are releasing sufficiently. So just softening the spaces just in the back of the mouth, back teeth, and using the shoulder strength instead. Take one more inhalation in your dolphin and a complete exhale out. Release. Come up. And make sure that you give yourself a few minutes, maybe even just a few moments of stillness, a few moments to uptake this short practice. As always, if you have any questions, reach out to me, ask them, and hope you have a wonderful day.